we have a president, two presidents, a former president, current president running in this particular election cycle, and we have the one president trying to take out the other president to deny you and me the right to vote for the person that we want to be the president of the United States. We have to be laughing stocks in the entire world. We have a porn star case trying to take out the current president's political rival. What in the world is that about? And yet the United States will sit there and preach to countries like Venezuela, Ukraine, Russia. You go ahead and name the country. We preach all over the world about how people should have fair and open and honest elections, and then we engage in this type of nonsense. Folks, I've been around a little bit. I'm about to be 55. I have never seen nothing like this in my entire life. What a shame. And as I have said many times before, I bleed red, white, and blue. I am an American patriot. I love our country. I believe our country is special. It has been blessed by God for a particular mission. I believe without the United States, the world's prosperity would literally stop. I believe America has a special role ordained by God, if you will. And I sincerely believe this. This type of behavior from our democratic, woke individuals, what are they thinking? People, what are you doing? Stop. Stop. We have a very simple system that we've had for 200 some years now. It's real simple. You pick your candidate, the other side picks their candidate, and we have an honest election. We take a vote up or down, win or lose. That's it. We don't go after the other party trying to put them in jail. I did not like it when they were trying to do it to Hillary Clinton with the lock her up at the rallies. I have to admit, it's funny. There's no doubt about it. It's funny when you're at the rally and everybody's chanting, but it is not funny in reality. I really don't like trying to put the president's kids in jail. I'm talking about President Biden's son, Hunter. I don't like to see the Attorney General of New York going after Donald Trump's kids. I don't like to see what's going on with these crazy woke individuals going after President Donald Trump. We have a politicized court system now. We have a Democratic judge with a daughter who's just not a Democrat. She's a Democratic power broker. She has made over $93 million for Democratic candidates and Democratic causes. Absolute insanity. If it's on the other foot, just take a quick walk over to the U.S. Supreme Court. And I'm talking, of course, about one of the most conservative justices on there, Clarence Thomas. They always ask him to recuse himself because his wife works for various political conservative causes. And now that the shoe's on the other foot, they're like, oh, no. He can stay on the case and he can set in trial of former President Donald Trump. Outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. And I hope somebody put some common sense together before it is absolutely too late. Now, let's go ahead and take a quick peek. I'm going to try to explain what's going on in this case to the best that I possibly can, because the reality is we don't have the full picture of exactly what they're trying to say former President Donald Trump has done or done incorrectly. And you have to remember, this started off as a misdemeanor case because it involves President Trump having his personal company who allegedly mislabeled payments to his former attorney, aka the fixer, Michael Cohen. And instead of considering it a campaign contribution, President Trump called it what it was, a legal expense type fees. That is the heart of this case. And they have basically took this record manipulation situation, which is generally a misdemeanor, and it has a very strict and short statute of limitations. And they have made a novel legal theory where they are weaving this record situation in with a city prosecutor enforcing a federal law so they can try to extend the statute of limitations. Absolutely outrageous. I don't know another word to put it any more clear. It is shameful, despicable. It should not be allowed in the United States for this to continue. But I want to get into exactly what it is that he's accused of doing. Okay, this has to do with what we call the FECA, the Federal Election Campaign Act, that you can see on your screen right there. Now, I'm just going to be paraphrasing right here, but these are the facts pertaining to this case. You just need to know the highlights on this, right? The theory is that Trump's payment to Daniels were campaign expenditures and thus needed to be publicly reported as such. By not reporting the expenditures, as this theory goes, President Trump prevented the public from knowing the information that might influence their vote. But here's the problem with this. If President Trump would have labeled this expenditure as a campaign contribution, well, it wouldn't have been reported until after the election anyways, because of when the payment was made. And the second thing to remember as we go through this here, if President Trump would have called this a campaign contribution, he would have been indicted anyways, because Alvin Bragg would have simply said, oh, it was not a campaign contribution, it's a personal expense, and it should have been labeled as a personal expense. Another thing you have to understand, if you believe President Trump is guilty of any type of crime, President Trump took the advice of his then attorney, Michael Cohen. He's a licensed attorney in the state of New York, and he told President Trump, hey, I want you to go ahead and follow my legal advice that I'm giving you and write me this check as a legal expense. And that's what he did. So you want to put a felonious tag and put President Trump in jail for following the legal advice of a licensed attorney at the time that told him to do exactly what he did. Do you see the absurdity of this? It just gets more and more absurd. All right, my little screen here goes, the one big problem with this theory is that the payments to Daniels were not campaign payments. That's exactly what we just went over, okay? The FECA specifically prohibits conversion of campaign funds to personal use. It defined as any expenditure, and this is the way that they determine if it is a campaign expenditure or a personal expenditure. It has to be used to fulfill any commitment, obligation, or expense that would exist irrespective of the candidate's election campaign. Now, what does that mean? It means if a person would have had that expense, whether or not he was running for office, then it is a personal expense. If he has the expense only because he is or she is a candidate, then you can legally write it off your campaign. That kind of makes sense, don't it? The Federal Election Commission regulations emphasize that the standard for determining if something is for the purpose of influence of election is an objective one. It is the nature of the expense, not the subjective intent of the candidate in making the expense, that determines if something is legitimate campaign expense or an illegal personal use. That's how they decide this, right? Had Trump made these payments with campaign funds, and it seems a near certainty that he would have been facing criminal charges, and get this, for knowing and willful diversion of campaign funds to pay personal obligations. What we just talked about, what I just got done stating. It wouldn't have mattered how he paid this check. He would still have been indicted by Alvin Bragg and Joe Biden's collusion, whatever's going on here. Clearly there's something going on, and we can all see right through it. As my screen here says, zealous prosecutors could get a candidate coming or going. It doesn't matter. Falsification of records. It is falsification of records if campaign funds are not used, and illegal personal use if campaign funds are used. Right? Do you get that? They can get him coming and going on this. And that is not the way, ladies and gentlemen, that it is supposed to work in the United States. All right.